Why does the black man serve the white man? Why does everything the black man do benefit the white man? Why does the black man say freedom is doing what I want to do? And why is it that everything he wants to do enriches the European?
Welcome to the desert of the real.
Listen, we're going to turn this up a little bit. We got another brother with his hands up. I'm going to let this gentleman introduce himself. Your mic is live, my dude, so go right ahead.
Holla.
Yo, what's up, yo?
What up?
How's it going? I came in the middle of something that sounds interesting.
I'm sure.
Indeed.
Right on cue.
Well,
what brought this discussion on?
Chandler brought it up. Thing and the removal of statues, stuff like that. So, interesting topic, man.
Yeah.
Oh, you talking about them removing the Confederate stuff?
Well,
they trying to not succeed mostly.
Yeah, my whole thing, Holip, is if we keep whitewashing history, how are people going to learn from history when they're already not teaching kids a damn thing? I'm not saying that you punish people, but you have to know that this shit happened, okay? And by removing it, all you're really doing is pretending it didn't happen. That's where I'm coming from. But I know
you're 100% correct. But the thing about it is, I just want to add a little wrinkle to it. Mm-hmm. People don't educate people against their own interest. So the people in power have an interest in trying to whitewash things because this is their country. They don't have a vested interest in telling. It's like, think about it just on a personal level. When you meet a girl that you're trying to get with, you go up there and say, "Oh, hey, how you doing? Guess what? I actually one time slept with a midget. I cheated on every fucking." You ain't gonna tell them everything that you did so they can know the real you. You're gonna hide that shit and present the image that you want so that they can get with you. And it's no different than countries and nations and societies. They're gonna paint pictures of how they see themselves in a certain light so that they can come across as being, righteous and pious. Mm-hmm. But in reality, like this, looking at it, like the statement that he made is 100% true. It's like you got to see the full picture. I don't believe in banning, like baby is cold outside and all those things. People want to judge those things within, absent context. What was the context of the time that they exist in? So you can't just take it. It's like you can't superimpose 2019 values on something that happened in 1930.
Exactly.
Because what was going on in society in 1930? Were African Americans held in a high regard? Absolutely not. Were women held in a high regard? Absolutely not. So it's like you have to give the full context and the history behind all these things. I think that's way more important than just banning it.
Exactly.
Right. Now, I agree with y'all in one sentiment. The part where we part is y'all trying to confuse history and statues. Like I said, statues are places where you honor somebody. History is what is written, what is studied for decades, what people actually do. That part is not affected by any of this. People are who they are. You get the full story on them. You can lay it out. But
I agree with I agree with what you're saying. Like I think
of somebody who was did some horrible shit. Like, okay, I'll put it to you like this. The Confederate statues we see now, most of these came about during the Civil Rights Movement. Daughters of the Confederacy and these other groups made those statues then. Like, these weren't made, like, after Reconstruction. They did this because black people were pushed for different things within the legal system, so they gave them, their middle finger, basically, is what those statues were. So the idea that,
but we're not really
what
disagreeing.
Country can you go to where traitors are honored? You know what I'm saying?
We're not really, at least I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm saying is, because I agree with that statues are a form of honor. I just don't think that they should destroy the statues. What they should do is take the statues and put them in a fucking museum and let people know why they were built, why they were constructed, or give the history behind it. You don't have to destroy it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. It shouldn't be like we shouldn't have a statue of some. We shouldn't have a statue of some slave owner at the head of a university, like honoring him. No, I don't believe in that. But if it was constructed and if it was put there, take that shit down, put it in the museum, and give a full explanation of the history of why that shit was built in the first place and why it was there.
Yeah. Right. And that's where I'm coming from.
If any of y'all have ever got a chance to visit the museum in D.C., the new African American Museum, they took a lot of those artifacts and did just that. They give you I don't know if any of y'all have been there. It gives you the history of this stuff, not just, again, we're going to go, get a sledgehammer. That's like saying, what are we going to do next? We're going to take Ty Cobb's plaque out of the Hall of Fame?
Right, exactly.
There's only but so far you can go. But, again, guys, if you get a chance to go down there, that's what, ironically, the guy that curated it, Lonnie Bunch, is my wife's cousin. So I had the opportunity to, actually see the thing. But it gives
right, man. I don't think we're doing apples to apples though when we do a baseball player in the Baseball Hall of Fame compared to somebody who said I declare war on this country if they will not allow me to enslave people.
I understand that, but
this ain't apples to apples.
But the story started out with Chandler talking about the song being removed from Yankee Stadium because of what somebody sang.
And then
that's
some
how
other
the
stadiums
started.
What song?
So now you look back at
corporate
some of the
people
things
overreact.
Now
what song we talking about?
Now you got to go back. Now you
God
got to
bless
go back
America.
and think
Now God bless America. Now patriotic songs being sung at sporting events is a whole other level of propaganda that we don't even get into.
Can I address that?
It's a whole other level.
Can I address that?
Go right ahead.
If niggas have a problem with Kaepernick taking a knee, then they should have a problem with the national anthem being played at a baseball game. I want to know how do they make that separate? I swear the Republican mind, the right-wing mind is something fascinating. They need to take that shit and just study. They got so much fucking contradictions. They claim that they don't like political correctness, and then when somebody is politically incorrect, they attack them. They say that they don't want politics in their games, and then you playing the fucking national anthem before the game starts. No cognitive distance whatsoever.
His wife doesn't know he's here. But yeah, you know that trick they play at every arena. Soldier's here. His wife doesn't know he's here. He goes surprise her. Crowd goes crazy. Like all of the Patriots stuff they do, and then turn around and say they're non-political.
Yeah, they're non-political.
You gotta laugh at it.
No such thing. But I heard somebody was saying something about the two parties. I don't know the context in which they was talking, but I just want to give my thoughts on the political system here in America. It'll be brief. Don't worry. There's only one party in America. It's a mainstream corporatist party, and that takes the form of the Democrats. It takes the form of the Republicans, because when you look at policy, they're all the same. Do you think Democrats want single-payer health care? Hell no. Republicans don't want it. Democrats don't want it. Do you think Democrats and Republicans want to go and have interventionist wars? Of course they do. Both parties. When it comes, Donald Trump, they claim that they're supposed to be a resistance against Donald Trump, and I use this as an example to show that how much bullshit that is. When Donald Trump wanted to get his military budget passed, all of the resistance voted for him.
Not a mumbling word.
But this is resisting Trump.
Yeah.
It's like I said, people need to pre what's going on. And then another thing that you need to notice. Bernie Sanders and AOC and Ilhan Omar and all of these people that's pushing for these worker-friendly policies are not friends with the Democratic Party. They're getting more attacked by their own party than the opposition party. And it was the same thing that went down. The same thing that went down with the Republicans when Ron Paul and the Libertarian wing of the party was popular. Who squashed them? Mainstream Republicans. So this is the point that I want to make. Democrats do not equate to progressives and liberals. So when people start talking about a left-wing agenda, there is no fucking left-wing agenda. Left-wing agenda, if there was a real left-wing agenda, wouldn't they have put Bernie Sanders to go against Trump? You don't get more left-wing in your party than him. So it's all just bullshit. It's one mainstream corporatist party, and they can be Democrats, they can be Republicans. The only people who's actually pushing for worker-friendly policies, neither party likes, and both parties are going to attack.
And you have to wonder if they were going to push for these parties if they weren't at the bottom of the polling within their party. So this becomes your Hail Mary thing. Elizabeth Warren put out the free college thing again today. So how's that going to go? Probably not well, because they're giving other people interviews and camera time, not her. Because that's the way the game is played. Extreme left, extreme right, no, can't hear you. That is the game, though. It's a corporatist game, and the same people making the donations to one party, they're making to the other. They hedge their bets, and those are the people who get policy. He promised them people a wall, infrastructure, all this other stuff. The only people who got what they actually paid for were the 1%ers who got that tax relief.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Trump wanted to build a wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the first 2 years of his presidency, he controlled the House and the Senate. Why wasn't the wall built? You decide after the fucking Democrats take over the Congress, well, I got to push for my wall funding. Nigga, you had control of the Senate and the House.
Kind of similar to 2000.
You have to be a fucking moron if you're a Trump supporter and you still support him after that? That nigga didn't want no wall built. It's all propaganda and bullshit. If he wanted the wall built, he could have did it with no resistance whatsoever. Democrats weren't even in power. But he got. But let's see what he did. What did he do in those first 2 years? He put tax cuts for the rich. That went through. And that was supported by both mainstream Democrats and Republicans. Does anybody see the game that's being played on them?
Right. But how reminiscent of this is 2010, when your boy, who runs on a populist movement, allows the populist movement to dry up. Then the other side gets in party, and then he said, okay, now I'm going to do health care. As soon as the other side is out.
Right, exactly. Exactly. The Democrats, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is 100% true. The Democrats had control over the House and the Senate. They had total majority control. And did they pass the health care? Did they go for single-payer health care? Because apparently there's some radical left-wing agenda. How come it wasn't passed? I mean, people got to open up their eyes and see the game that's being played on them, man.
Yeah, and the ACA is from the Heritage Foundation. This was the Republican plan to counter Hillary's plan in the 90s to get rid of single payer. So they ran that particular plan out there with the individual mandate, which is basically a tax. And then the Republicans now, they can't come up with a plan because this is their ideology.
Exactly.
Right now.
Obamacare is their plan.
Yep.
Like I said, the thing that makes it irritating is that people don't educate themselves. If you're going to vote for somebody, you should find out what their policy positions are. I hear people suggesting that The Rock and Oprah run for president, and I ask them, well, what's their policy positions? And they give you blank stares, and you can see birds going around their head. So what are you just voting for people just because you like them?
Just like how the dude who he attacked me on Facebook and said, "Oh, I'm personally offended that you don't like Hillary Clinton." And I was like, "You know about her policies?" So then he ran off my page and then goes on his page, which I could see, and he calls me a hotep. And I'm like, "But you didn't want to argue your position."
Yeah, we got a lot of neoliberal, blavity, so-called new black folks who, no matter what, believe in the appearance of things, representation. Diversity only means one of them gets a gig. So their political views, man, are really, really short. And when you start trying to ask them, okay, what is your position on this? What is this on that? Well, do you want Trump to win? That's their reaction. So
I'll tell you one thing. I could tell people, and you can mark the time that I make this statement. If the Democrats, if the Washington Generals, if the Democrats really wanted to beat Donald Trump, it would be a Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard ticket, and it was curb stomp Trump and anybody you put with him. If they really wanted to win. But watch what's going to happen.
They're going to push them to the side and run.
They're going to push. They're going to push either Cory Booker or Kamala Harris or Beto O'Rourke, who couldn't even beat fucking what's his name, Ted Cruz. You couldn't beat Ted Cruz, and we taking you seriously as a presidential candidate.
Kamala Harris is just Hillary in blackface.
Indeed.
Kamala Harris, I will say this, is smarter than Hillary. She's as a politician, she's not bad. If you're basing your politicians on the curve, if you're using the curve, she's above the curve in terms of a politician. She's smart. She's not a dummy.
Right.
She knows how to pander.
Hillary's not either. Hillary's not stupid either. She's just a horrible politician. She doesn't have charisma. She doesn't have personality. Every interaction is like a transaction, basically.
Thief pulling.
I shake your hand, you vote for me. Like,
I doubt really her political. I'm not saying she's a dummy, but I doubt her political smartness because she didn't even have the ability to be smart enough to pander. Like, look at Donald Trump. Donald Trump had no problem saying, "Oh, you want a pony? Hell yeah, I'll get that for you," because he know that once he gets into office, he ain't giving you shit.
Exactly.
But she was too stupid to even know that.
I was talking about. But hold on, though. This is the thing I was talking about. Think about that moment at the Breakfast Club, where it's already bad enough that we got politicians going to the Breakfast Club as representation for black people. That's already bad enough. Second part, when they made the joke about the hot sauce, anybody else could have pulled that joke off. But this charisma-less type person is the only person who made it awkward, and everybody's like, ugh.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
She's a horrible politician. Horrible.
She got no personality.
No, she's not likable, and that's the problem. That's what the problem is with Elizabeth Warren too.
Yeah.
She just doesn't. She comes across as just not genuine. You know, and that's a problem.
So let me get this straight. The people in 2008 who you said were responsible for the crash, you're going to run and you're going to come after those people? No, those people are going to fund your opponents and get you the hell up out of there.
Exactly.
Like, this ain't hard.
Exactly. But what I really want the people to know, I want the people to really see what's going on, because they're going to fight. This girl, Ilhan Omar, is hated amongst the Democrats. They can't stand her. How do you come out against her and you don't come out against Steve King? You give Steve King a pass and you go after her for some bullshit? But that's, like I said, you know who's what, because when it comes to like all of these parties, like what's if Nancy fucking Pelosi? Nancy fucking Pelosi does a Rolling Stone cover with these new Democrats. Woman power, yeah, she's sitting there with her old decrepit ass in the midst of them, trying to piggyback off their popularity. And then once the cover is finished, she's in the news dogging them.
Mm-hmm.
The Green New Dream, what's that? What is that?
Mm-hmm.
And these are the people that people want to claim as flaming liberals. Yeah, right. There are no flaming liberals in the fucking Democratic Party. There are no Democratic socialists in the party. And that's another thing. There's a difference between Democratic socialists and a social democrat. And nobody, and the news is shirking their responsibility because they keep throwing these terms around, allowing people to bring up Venezuela when they talk about Bernie Sanders instead of bringing up fucking Denmark and Sweden. Democratic socialist is a post-capitalist philosophy. Social democrat is where you have a capitalist society and a social safety net. That's what all of these new Democrats in the Democratic Party are pushing. They're pushing social democracy, not democratic socialism like Venezuela. But yet, people keep bringing that up if it's a valid point, like you dropped the mic or something, and nobody in the news makes that distinction. So the reason, which gets back to what Chandler was saying, this society is not going to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you what they want to tell you so they can paint themselves a certain way.
Yep.
It's propaganda.
So you keep status quo. You don't want huge change. You want really small incremental change that you can adapt to. You don't want a changing of the guard or changing who's in power. So like what he just talked about with Pelosi. Pelosi's been there for years. What does that mean? She's entrenched within the system. She knows the big donors. She knows what they like. She knows what will be acceptable and what won't be. So Elon and these people who are talking about new things that can kind of upset the apple cart, yes, she immediately went after him, tried to smack him on the hand. But Elon is still rolling. Now next comes, like I said, they're going to fund opponents, primary them the hell up out of there, and keep it moving. This is what they've done to leftists in the Democratic Party, for a long time.
So my thing is, at least know who's actually fighting for policies that represent you and who's bullshitting you.
Right.
That's my frustration. So when you attack, if a working class person attacks AOC and Ilhan, and you back Nancy Pelosi, then what the fuck is going on with you? What is going on? Are you retarded? You can't see because anybody that's for pushing for working class issues is going to be marginalized.
Yep. Right.
And the reason why they don't know what to do with Bernie Sanders is they can't marginalize him anymore. Because he has too much name value, and he has too many people. He went on Fox News and had Fox News audience cheering for his policies.
Yeah. It was a setup to clown him, but they didn't understand is how popular some of these ideas are. Single payer. You start talking about some of these work-related things from child care and everything else. Like, yeah, people like those things, even on the right.
Yeah, you telling a family that's going damn near going bankrupt because somebody in the family got sick, and then you go in there and say, "Oh, this single payer health care stuff." Can you believe this guy? They gonna look at you like, "What the fuck? Yeah, nigga."
GoFundMe's all over Twitter for somebody to get insulin, and they want to tell you
it's crazy. Shit, if you happen to get sick at your job and if they call an ambulance for you to take you to the hospital, guess what that bill is going to be?
$1,000.
Yeah. A sweet grand.
Because it happened to me this year.
So you know what that does? That means if a person knows that if I get sick, I'm going to be broke, guess what they do? They don't go to the hospital. They don't go to a doctor because they don't want to pay or they don't have the ability to pay. They literally will lose their livelihood by being sick, so they just stay home and die. And this is a fucking system that people think is a functional system. This is the system that nobody thinks should be changed.
Yeah. And look, the private care industry, they beat Teddy Roosevelt on this way back in the day. When Germany was first putting their system in, he tried to run on that. They crushed his ass and been crushing everybody ever since because there's money at every turn. So the ambulance, there's a markup. That $20 aspirin, there's a markup because everybody throughout that chain has to pull their profit out. Now, if you design a system that way, of course, it's going to be unaffordable at a certain point. People won't be able to actually get care. And then what happens, like what Holip was saying, now you get late-stage detection. You go to the hospital and you got stage 3 cancer already because you haven't seen a doctor in years. You don't know what your health status is, and now everything is too late. And it's going to bankrupt you to even take the experimental treatment.
Right. So you literally have people dying because they can't afford to be treated. That is not a civilized society.
No.
And anybody that backs that is a person that is beneath contempt.
When you can blink your eyes at a $600 billion increase in military funding, and then when somebody says something about health, how much? How would we pay for it? You're like, come on.
Yeah, when you can dedicate money towards a building burning down. There wasn't people that got killed in that Notre Dame thing. It was a building. Who gives a fuck? Yep. It's a building. But you can dedicate money toward that, and you don't. But yet, when it comes to doing something for working class people or people that's sick, you don't have no money. Where's it going to come from? How are we going to pay for it? But how are you going to pay for Notre Dame?
Right.
War.
You're going to pay for fucking war in Syria. Nobody ever questions that.
And there's still dirty water in Flint.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's citizens, and I'm telling you, people got to understand, if you have people, if I was the head of a nation and I had a homeless person, not persons, one homeless person in my nation, that would be a source of embarrassment for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Not the good old U.S. of A.
In the USA, it's like, well, fuck you. If you don't have the money, who gives a shit about you? That's the overall philosophy. That's the American way.
And this is what happens when you get one set of people entrenched in power for a long time. They legislate for their benefit. They set the country up to their benefit. And eventually, everything for everybody else just starts declining. And you're going to have to settle it in some way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't keep doing this. That's why you hear some of these people kind of scared, because they understand, like, okay, actual class warfare, not that ish they be talking about on TV. Actual class warfare means folks coming to your house, and the Hamptons are not a defensible position. So you're going to have to do something.
Remember I said this before on a previous show. What if Blockbuster Video had nuclear weapons? The insurance company is on they're on their way out. They know that they're a dying industry. These middlemen, but they're trying to entrench themselves and resist any change. And the rubber's hitting the road now because people are feeling these medical bills. And it's not just poor people. White people is feeling it. And when white people feel something, then that's when things are going to change in this country.
And if we go to West Virginia,
it's just like with Bernie.
Some of these other states, you think it ain't 20 Flints down there that we just don't know about yet? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is like, all across this spot.
You know why? But I mentioned this before in a previous show, and it's worth mentioning again. The reason why why Trump became president is because white folks, the Democratic Party, tried to run the same game on white folks that they've been running on black folks for years. Mm-hmm. Like, their thing that they ran was, hey, if you don't vote for us, the Republican is going to get in. And so they would do that to kind of extort the vote for the black community. And the black community, because the Republicans are so against you openly, they go, all right, well, we might as well support you. They support them, put them in office. They don't do anything to work in their interest. And then after their term is over, they come back to you with the same game, and you have no options because you don't have a plan B.
Right.
They did that with white folks, and guess what white folks did? They said, fuck you, bring on Trump.
Or they didn't
Which
vote.
is what they should have did.
Right. I got a bunch of college friends who are white. A lot of them didn't vote for Trump. They didn't vote for anybody. They didn't vote for anybody.
They didn't get extorted. They said they did the Mel Gibson on them. Remember Ransom? They did the Mel Gibson on them. They said, no, you're not extorting me. I'm putting you under pressure. Yo, you want Trump? Don't blame me because Trump got in. Blame yourself because you should have got my vote and you didn't go try to get it.
Right.
Your vote is not a right.
Right. And this goes back decades. This is the whole globalization story. You move jobs from one area to a whole other area, cheapest wages all over the world. You can't compete with third world labor. And at that point, what happens to your unions and all these people who work in regular working class jobs? They're disenfranchised. You come back as a party in 2016 and say, hey, don't you want to support the legacy of Obama? And they're like, what legacy? I'm still having it bad. We just had an economic meltdown in 28. Things aren't up to par yet, and you're running on the legacy? Like, nah, it wasn't no.
And that's another discussion that nobody's talking about. And the reason why nobody seems to be able to understand it because we're only looking at it from a localized perspective. Like, we're looking at it from the American economy, and we're not looking at the world economy. Because think about it. Like, for the people that say that, we shouldn't we shouldn't outsource these jobs to these nations where the workers are getting paid next to nothing. Well, if we didn't do that, how much would your iPhone be? How much would it cost for that Samsung Note? Because the workers are getting paid so little, they're able to produce these goods cheaply. So that's an issue. How are you addressing that issue? How is the United States addressed? Because like you said, if you can go as a company and they allow you to outsource, why would you pick a worker union in America where you can go overseas and pay somebody pennies? That's a problem.
If you had a different idea, you wouldn't have that job long. Like, if you're like, no, we're going to stay here, patriotic duty, yada, yada. Okay, right. The board has a meeting, your ass is out.
Right. Right. Or if there were laws in place that prevented you from outsourcing. If you're a company inside of America that prevents you from outsourcing. But unfortunately, that's not the case. You can go outside and get, Nike. Nike has, I love Nike because Nike has all this American memorabilia and propaganda attached to it, and they don't hire no fucking American workers. But when you look at their commercial, they got the flag and all this. Dude, you can do it. The Captain America, and don't hire no fucking Americans. It's hysterical to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's a long list, man. Apple, they didn't pay anything last year.
Yeah.
Last 2 years.
I had a list. I posted it on Facebook, a list of companies.
Yeah,
I paid more. Each person on this phone paid more than Amazon did.
Yeah. Yeah. So at a certain point, it has to be, okay, what's good for a country to sustain itself? Are you actually going to tax businesses or force them to be able to pay workers a living wage? Or are you going to put a government option out there to keep the economy stimulated until you can sort that out? But it has to be figured out, and everybody's trying to do it. Germany, here, Japan, everybody's trying to figure out, okay, how do we do this? Because this scheme is not going to sustain. You can't outsource all labor and then use that as a weapon. Because think about every union that exists right now. We used to have 30% union, now it's 10.
Yep.
Any union, the moment you ask for a pay raise, they do what? They threaten to move. Now, you're either going to take that back down or they're going to leave. And then what do you do? So,
yeah. The only unions that's really left. The only real unions that's really left. They trying to squash out, and the Republicans been trying to squash unions out, which is why I don't understand why a working man identifies with the Republican Party. I don't get it. It's like you cutting your own throat.
Yep.
And it ain't like I said, it ain't like the Democrats is any better. But at least on the Democratic side, you do have people that's left-leaning that actually push for working-class policies. Where's that on the right? Who on the right is pushing for working-class policies? I want to know who that dude is. Where?
Doesn't exist.
I think maybe the last person was Ron Paul. And you see what happened to him.
Yeah.
One guy in the whole entire party.
Though. Right. It's in the ideology. Either you didn't work hard enough or you messed up. That's your fault. So if you preach everybody is temporary and bears millionaires, they're going to buy in. So, I mean, that's kind of what they're selling in a sense. But
yeah, everybody thinks they're going to be a millionaire. So they don't want you to tax money that they don't even fucking have. Well, why should you tax? If I got $100 million, I don't want the government tax. Nigga, you ain't never going to get $100 million. Will somebody say that? You ain't never going to see $100 million in your fucking life. Why are you fighting for somebody else's interest? Do you think they fight for yours?
And if you
why do I care about a fucking estate tax? Why do I care about an estate tax? You dead, nigga. Let them take 90% of your shit. I don't care. You got a problem with people collecting welfare, but absolutely no problem with one of your kids getting an inheritance that just handed over to them that they didn't work for. You got no problem for that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's a handout. You didn't earn that. Do you think fucking, what's that chick, Hilton? You think she earned her money? Nope. But nobody has a problem. Nobody calls her a welfare queen. Tax they motherfucking ass. Take all they shit. Once they dead, who gives a fuck? If your kids are bright, they can build up their own fortune.
Right. But it's kind of just
I don't
down
care.
to 1%. That Schultz guy, him being on TV, like that alone tells you everything. This man is a moron. How he made that empire, I have no idea. But I'm sure there's a story of somebody being really charitable to him. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not a genius we're looking at here. So
well, remember, you don't have to be a genius to be a billionaire or a millionaire in this country. You just have to be ruthless.
Oh, no.
Right.
If you have the ability to not have empathy, you'd be surprised how far you can go in this country if you have no empathy.
You can't compare to the status right here. Legendary worldwide, we can battle right here. Listen, Junior, I'ma tear back your wig. This ain't TV, but I'll show you what a fear factor is. Stop grilling me, and all that fronting is killing me. You leave me no choice but to hurt your feelings, G.
About to slap rappers around and bruise